What a way to start the show. Peace and love. And what up, though? Um, not gonna drag out that 5 minutes. It's just, whew, it's the winter time and we need some air around this piece. You know what I'm talking about? Like, where do I start? I think I start with, I guess, what I'm most familiar with. You know, I made a statement earlier today. I said something about do something to the Donald and take uh Biden with his ass. You know what I'm talking about? What y'all call that dude, Sleepy Joe? Uh, a businessman, if nothing else. I don't care how incompetent you may deem him to be, and that's on either end, whether we're talking about Don, you know what I'm talking about, or we talking about Biden. I just can't seem to want to call him Yusuf. You know what I'm talking about? Or Joe or Joseph. I just Biden. You know what I'm talking about? Like, for real, real talk. Like, what he has done throughout his political career is conduct business. Because again, whether we're talking about I don't know why I want to say the state of Maryland, because that has nothing to do. What is it? Where that guy uh where's cause Delaware. Don't he, you know, like that where he the court that he reps from. See, we'll say where he's from or where she's from, you know, and it's not where they're from. It's the corporate entity that was established and incorporated in a particular year that has a charter to prove it once again for the 100 millionth time. You know, they're doing business, right? And Obviously, for him to make it to be, how old is he? 81, 83, 80, 79, 78. He's been doing business for a long time, handling billions of promissory notes or fiat currency. We'll just say that fiat currency. How about that? Fed notes, uh, by the way of contractual obligations. They call that lobbying, lobbyists, lobbying, you know, like this guy is threatening to veto a law that they're attempting to get passed concerning transgender uh, people. And this is dealing with children because we're talking about within the schools, right? The same things that we've been talking about for the past couple of years with this. I was born a male, but I feel as though I'm a female, or I was born a female, but I feel as though I'm a male, right? Now, when you're talking about sports in particular, because that's what this is about, like when you have a young man he's transgender, so he's playing with the girls, right? He has more physical strength, right? So just imagine he's playing the sports with the girls and he knocked the hell out of one of them. You know what I'm saying? Which I should have pulled this case up because I actually talked about it about a month ago, but unfortunately I had audio issues within that, you know, version of the story or whatever, but not the version. I mean, I'm presenting not just what, your media outlets, some of them, present or whatever. It's just with my own. It's not even a twist on it. Facts is facts. Like, do you want your daughters playing sports with a transgender boy or male or young man or teenage boy, adolescent? You know, dude, is that something that are like? It's already dang, I wish I had to pull this case up, but me focusing on the fact that this man has already stated that he's going to veto it. Is it won't see the light of day, according to the CEO of the corporation known as United States of America, who these states are subsidiaries of, right? So again, he's allowing a small amount of restrictions. Matter of fact, let me just go to it so I don't have to, you know, uh, because I know I'm not gonna have the story verbatim. That's You shouldn't expect that anyway, because I'm not part and parcel to their system, right? Only by way of force. How we say that shit? TDC, threat, duress, and coercion. You know what I'm talking about? So where is that? Let me find it. Uh, is it the first one? Second one? It's the third one, but it's the one that's red. So why is it not appearing that way? Uh, we about to see. Let's see. That's what we just gonna see. That's how we gonna do that. So yeah. So here it is. Biden proposes rule for transgender student athletes that allow for some restrictions. Like I said, and he opposes categorical bans. Right. In other words, according to their actual gender. When he says categorical bans, that's what they're talking about, right? So again, we don't want our daughters or our nieces and your granddaughter, your sister, you don't want her playing sports, especially physical contact sports, which that's what the sports are, right? You don't want her playing with a boy, right? And this is crazy. Uh I'm trying to scroll because the language that they use in order to not confuse you, but to shadow what they're actually saying. Because in the beginning, if you read CNN's report, it sounds like he is in favor of banning males, transgender. What do you call them? Transgender females if they're actually males. Like the whole shit is confusing anyway, you know. But again, he's already saying that he's gonna veto this when it hits his desk, right? Which this is needed. Like again, and when you again, I said we're talking about current events here, but in a solution based manner. And what I mean by that is this. Where I'm at, put me back up here. What I mean by that is this. Okay, even when you're talking about the adult athletes within, whether you're talking about the NFL or NBA or WNBA or whatever, right? You have the transgenders now. It's starting off with the schools, the high schools and the middle schools and the colleges or whatnot, right? And it's already approaching the professional, the pros, right? So again, the solution to this, to stop any more women or girls from being because it's like I said, it's already happened. I forgot about the case and exactly where it was at. Maybe I'll pull it up next time. But again, I did it about a month ago. It must have been about 2 months ago. We'll say about 2 months ago, because I think 30 days I can retain that much information, concerning something that's just crazy. But it's already a lawsuit that's been filed, not just against the young man who is transgender, so he's a female transgender who seriously injured another teen athlete, and really like it's some major damage that was done to the young woman, right? So what's the solution to all of this? To not just stop that, but as well, let's go into the transgender males, which are actually females. I think now, if it's anybody who is more versed in these various pronouns and things like this and that, let me put the comments up right quick while I'm talking. If I'm wrong in how I'm saying it, I know we can all still comprehend what I'm trying to say. But again, you have a female who was a transgender male, so she's playing in sports with other little boy. Well, I mean, with men, and depending on if it's the pros, or young men, if it's like high school or college, right? They're putting themselves on football fields and things like this and that, and they're gonna get messed up. It's already happened. I'm sure the one lawsuit that I talked about a couple of months ago isn't the only lawsuit. And again, the young woman who was injured, she's not just suing the transgender female. I don't know, that's just confusing me. But she's not just suing their parents, she's also suing the school district or something like that, right? So it's more than one of these cases. So that's what actually brought about this new bill that Biden is threatening to veto, right? Like, this is crazy. Again, we don't want our daughters playing in sports with young men who actually feel as though that they are female, right? So what's the solution? For me, and I think for everybody, this should just make the general consensus, like, they should have their own league. They should have their own transgender, the same way they have the WNBA. They would profit off of it, right? They should make a transgender league and things like this, an association, sports association, and have their own football, baseball, swimming teams, and all of that, where they can actually compete on an even level, right? You can't compete. You can't compete on an even level when, okay, there's a girls basketball team, right? And there's a transgender female who's actually a male. She's 6'4" and 225 pounds, versus Becky, Susie, and like that's not gonna work. It's already not working. It's already sparked lawsuits again. So, uh, again, that's them y'all guys, Biden and Trump or whoever you would like to, I just don't get it. And again, I don't have to respect it. I don't have to be disrespectful towards you for supporting a Republican or a Democratic Party or independent party. Again, it's not my party. Anybody can get a invite. You know, look at the way they say migrants. They're really careful with their language, right? Why would they? Again, it's more than difficult for people from particular nations that they don't want here to obtain uh, uh, a passport and a what you call the other shit, the green card and things like this and that, in order to work visas and things like that to come over here, right? But those who they know that will come into their particular territory and produce lots of children for them to give social security numbers to, right? As well as those social security numbers not just being used at the hospice place, as well with the state, right? Who gets an annual budget from who? The Fed, right? Like it's again, their $33 trillion deficit, right? So, as we in the past have went back and showed where the population was much less than what it is now, and what the president of the 80s was saying was, we don't believe you. We need more people. We need more, you know? So as far as the complaints that we're hearing right now, like they don't care nothing about that. This is a we view it, people will view it and voice it as a capitalistic nation, right? But it's actually based off of human trafficking, uh transmitting utilities, persons, you know. Some people may say wards of state. You're like crossing, you're in dire need and you're crossing uh rivers and things like this and that and borders in order to come into a situation that you deem is more beneficial or productive, a more productive society, right? Being used the whole while, and you will be surprised as to the amount of people who come from other nations over here, the amount of them who actually know what I'm telling you to be true. I actually heard some, I don't recall what so-called country that they were from, but this was something that I was watching on like HBO or something like that some time ago, and it was actually about the housing crisis as far as people losing their homes to mortgage foreclosure and property tax foreclosure. And they were showing how people from other nations, come over here for a better life, and they were having these conversations with these people. And in particular, one of them began to discuss like, I'll be able to purchase a home, although I'll never actually own it with the 30-year mortgage and this and that and that and that. And I was like, well, damn, you know what I'm saying? They were into the conversation of the mortgage being a dead pledge and things like this and that. And this was like on HBO or Showtime or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly what network it was, but yeah, this just really, you know, showed the craziness. Like, we're gonna allow this to take place, which is again, that's it goes against the grain of nature. And when you begin to see a process of things going against, the grain of nature, as far as those who are in control and in charge of really what's going on with the land. And what I mean by that is when you see these wars taking place, I know a lot of people feel like it's all propaganda and, a distraction, and they playing this. It don't, for me, that don't matter. What matter is they are doing damage to the land. Yes, they're doing damage to other human beings and mankind, murdering people and displacing them, and having them to be more impoverished than they maybe were prior to, these dire situations that they are being forced into based off of immature things like beliefs, what you believe in, and your one monotheistic God who you believe in, who told you that he's the only one and he's the one that you have to follow, and all of this, childish ass, immature, mentally unstable shit that people have found themselves, more than just captivated with. Like, this is how you live your life off of somebody else's shit. It's just like how all of y'all, not all of y'all, peace God, got the God King L Bay, you know what I'm talking about? But how a lot of people are going to be celebrating Christmas and things like this and that. They'll be celebrating the fiscal FISCAL fiscal, because y'all know I jack up some words. Um, things that aren't right. In this day and age and time, even a child know that, okay, if you say this is about a savior, this is about Yahshua's born day, and you know what I'm saying? Like, are you do y'all, I would much rather celebrate, peace be upon him, a Reverend W.J. Kenshin's birthday. And that would be my maternal grandpa. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not having a celebration on an annual basis for my own goddamn bloodline, why would I? And I'm not saying, don't get caught up on me saying that that is actually uh Yahshua bin Yusuf or Yahshua Bar Miriam. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's his born day. That his born day is actually December the 25th. Like, we want to have the conversation about the winter solstice and the crux and the sun being at its lowest point and blah blah. We can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. This is, when you hear me talk, sometimes don't make the assumption that I don't know the obverse. You know what I'm talking about? So again, a lot of people, who know damn well you don't have no business celebrating that, even if you are looking at it as being pagan. Excuse me, paganism, right? Like, that would be a complete different argument than the saying that that's Yahshua's born day. You know what I'm saying? Then we would have to bring in Tammuz and Nimrod, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're having a discussion with me, the average person, of course, is gonna look at us all like we just lost our damn mind, because we are speaking of something that, can I say, I'm asking myself this, not y'all, can I say we're talking about ancient things and they only know of modern shit? Y'all would say Western. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, again, I've said this multiple times over the past 2 decades. I would be a pagan before I be a Cretan any day of the week, because I know what I know. You understand? But when you lack that, when you it's become tradition for melanated people over here in North America to celebrate things that we shouldn't. Not, if you're gonna celebrate it for, you know what I'm saying, the most ancient reason, based on the fact that we are the most ancient people on the planet, which means that we are not just the mothers and fathers of civilization, but we are the first to populate any and everywhere on this mother plane. So the Pan African and the Pan American, because I don't hear none of y'all say that, but you should be using that language. The again, you're not just talking about um the north, east, and southern, and uh Midwest, and you know what I'm saying? You're talking about Central America and South America when you start bringing up undeniable proof of the fact that we are, the autochthonous people of the Americas. But again, there's no reason, if you really got knowledge of self, there's no reason for you to argue with a Pan-Africanist, because if we say that we are the first people of the planet, that means we are indigenous anywhere I touch down. Now, again, I may not, well, we don't hold various portions of certain cultures that uh habitate or cohabitate within various areas, because your ass has been here, right? That's why I make the point, or I made the point last week of saying that I don't care how many times you have been to what they're calling Egypt now, or what you may call Kemet or Misraim, or you know what I'm talking about, or Tamaray, or whatever you're gonna call it. You gonna call it Egypt? Y'all all be calling it Egypt, you know. Um, you could have made 50 trips there. You will never be able to completely absorb thousands of years of historical incidents, or you know what I'm saying, or all of the so-called dynasties or dynastic periods, if you will. You're not gonna be able to know everything about that shit over there, because again, you're not from over there. It just is what it is. Accept it, don't accept it. I'm not gonna say I can be wrong on that one, because I think I'm 1,000% correct, right? It's like, I'll give you an example, right? And many people, you're gonna know some people who have done this. Like, there are people who have traveled to Detroit 50, 60 times. They've been here 1,000 times. They've been here, right? And they're gonna have a perspective of the places and the people that they interacted with while they're here, right? But they're not gonna be able to have the knowledge of even the geographical uh, uh areas of the city. Just with 50 visits here, you're not going to be able to been all throughout this particular city and know all where all the mom and pop stores are still located, and various restaurants, and you know what I'm saying, like neighborhoods. You're going to be caught up in where you're visiting, who you're visiting. Let's just say you buy a house here. It's still going to take you time, you understand, to be able to know the east side, the west side, southwest Detroit, the north end, downtown. You know what I'm saying? The things north of 8 Mile, which is not Detroit. So it's just things that it just is what it is. Like I said, it's people who have actually relocated to other countries and are definitely comfortable to even have made that transition. But again, they're not going to be able to absorb the complete culture of that area like that, because you are not from there. That's no different than these passport guys. They, I don't know why they cannot find a good woman, as many unmarried melanated women as there are here, to their standards, as to where they have to move out of their home to a completely different nation to deal with the woman who, look, she may be extremely submissive and cater to your needs and whatnot, but you can't listen to Run DMC with her. You know what I'm saying? You can't listen to BBD. You can't listen to Run DMC. You cannot. You cannot really sit back and watch certain movies. You can't watch Harlem Nights with a woman from a whole different nation. Like, she not gonna understand that shit like that, because she not from where you from, just like you not from where she from. So you're not gonna discuss the negatives of that shit. You see what I'm saying? It's just different. We different. I'm comfortable here where I'm at, where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? And that's just that. You have to take other things into consideration. You're moving to this other nation, and you got to get shots and shit. I saw old boy, y'all boy, uh what's his name? That was dressed up in a leotard and shit that I shared not too long ago. That guy that playing the best man and all of that, and Stella gotta have it. Tay Diggs. Stella got a groove back. Stella gotta have it. You know what I'm talking about? I saw him crying. This was some years ago, and he was getting ready to go to a country in Africa. I forget what country. I don't know if it was Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. I don't know where he was going, but I don't recall where he was going. But he had to get certain shots in order. I mean, it's not a legality where you have to get these shots so you can't go. It's the fact that you're not from over there. So the water, the food, the mosquitoes, you know what I'm saying? It ain't the same. Well, at least that's what they say. Because see, that's something I can say I'm not 100% sure of because I ain't ever been, right? So just be careful when y'all be listening to these people talking about, you know, they a passport guy or a passport girl, and they can't. You got to be a complete loser not to be able to find a good man or a good woman uh on your own damn land. I don't, that is something historically that we don't see the generation of our parents and our grandparents. We don't hear them discussing that kind of shit. Everybody grandma got a husband. So obviously, there is something that we're missing with these so-called issues of these men, because it's predominantly, I haven't heard of any sisters talking about they gotta leave. uh, I could be wrong now. I'm sure y'all will pull some shit up and show me like, see this, blah 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 blah. Okay, but let's be honest. It's the majority of the brothers and sisters that we hear talking that talk is majority brothers. They got to go somewhere else because the American women this and American women that. I don't see, you know what I'm saying? Many of these, and I hate to use the word Africans, but men from different nations are marrying so-called melanated American women, right? I'm just saying, it's I never heard of such. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there may be some issues with you finding someone that you feel is compatible for you, and it's not happening as quick as you would like it. You understand? But do you want to have someone that's of the qualities that you need, or you want to, quickly just have intercourse with somebody or something? I don't know what's wrong with y'all, for real. Like, obviously you are in the wrong places. Maybe you keep going to the churches and the churches ain't the right place to find you a good man or a woman. Or maybe you keep going to the bars and the bars may not be the, proper place to find. You see what I'm saying? Maybe you are making your connections in the wrong places. And it's always good to have stand up men and women on your team, right? Who really love your ass, love you enough to maybe introduce you to somebody who is compatible with you, right? Versus you, again, going to the church or going online or meeting random people at clubs and bars, and you know what I'm saying? Again, maybe you're going in the wrong places. If you're going online and looking at people's resumes, because that's what it is, and pictures or whatnot, and you know you don't know these people, right? It takes time getting to know people. As you can see, sometimes it takes years, especially based off of the sister who was killed in Florida by her ex-husband, right, in front of their daughter. And this has happened multiple times, and I really, again, really don't like talking about shit like that because I don't want to be categorized as somebody who is feminist or man hater or something like that. But the thing is, when you a truth teller, you tell the truth, right? People just aren't comfortable with it coming off of certain people's lips, right? Just as uncomfortable as I am to have to discuss shit like that and the alarming rate that it occurs, right? So again, what are you gonna do? You don't want your daughters playing sports with transgender girls, which are actually boys. And that's the message to that. Let's go to the next. And we're gonna talk about, what is it called? Where my mouse at? Take me off the screen. It's called a satanic uh the after school Satan Club. Let's talk about the after school Satan Club. And good looking y'all on the likes and the y'all hit the like for your sis. Yeah, I appreciate it. Right. Yeah, it's called a Satanic After School Club, and this is happening in Tennessee. Where is that? Right here. Let's go full screen on this because this right here is bananas. This is donuts, is what it is. Right. So, um, these advocates for this after school Satan Club that they have, um, many of the parents, well, I can't even say many, it was actually only one melanated woman who I heard saying her children will not be participating in the after school Satan Club, right? And this it's coming through the Satanic Temple. That's the name of this this, what do you call it? Well, I want to call it a 501c3. What do I call it? It's a Satanic Temple. I guess I'll call it what they say it is, right? So, um what they are mentioning, if you pull this up, like I just pulled up Google, I didn't even press on anything in particular. CBS, ABC, all of these various media networks, mainstream media. That's the word I always forget, the mainstream part. But they're speaking about it as well, and they're making sure within their commentary that they mention that this satanic after school program is lawful. It's legal. That's what they're saying. It's perfectly legal for them to have the satanic after school program. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about this, right? Just imagine your child attending this after school Satan program. Like, my question is this: what would they be programming? Oops, I mean teaching the children at the Satan after school program? Like, will they be discussing Saturn? Will they be discussing, since when you talk about Satan, they want you to talk about hell, right? So will they be talking about Shambhala or Agatha, or what? Will they be talking about Enlil and Inky? And I just want to know, right? So I just can't imagine that they will be showing a little man with horns in a pitchfork, like. And so I said, let me take me off the screen or make me little. Let me see. Can I zoom it? So I'm looking at the Satan. The Hebrew term Satan is a generic noun meaning accuser or adversary, and is derived from a verb meaning primarily to obstruct or to oppose. Right? So again, if I'm not if I'm, let's say George Bush, or no, Biden, and is, I don't know who y'all gonna say that guy is, but uh Putin is opposing him, right? So Putin is Satan because he's the adversary or the accuser, or you know what I'm saying? Like, what will they be teaching the children at the satanic after school program? I just want to know. So that's the Hebrew. That's what it says. Notice it says it's a generic Noun. Oh man, wait a minute. So, what is Lucifer's name in Hebrew? As a name for the devil in Christian theology, again, theology, you usually, when you're talking about the three little pigs and all of this, it's just for the children. Anyway, the more common meaning in English, Lucifer is rendering of the Hebrew word pronunciation Hael. So that's why I mentioned hell. I said Shambhala and Agatha. You know what I'm saying? Is this what they will be teaching the children at the Satanic after school program in Tennessee? I forget what city, y'all. I didn't retain that bit of information, but you know, this is business. Somebody is funding that program, and somebody is profiting, because again, these colonists came here to do business. They didn't come here to be your friend. They didn't come here to have to like you or want to like you. You know, they came here for multiple reasons in the beginning. Gold, right? Cocaine, tobacco, right? What you say, maize? We talk about cotton and all of this other stuff, but again, these were people who were starving because they did not have the science of what? Preservation of food and purification of water, which will render you a black plague having no change of clothes, no bath taken ass. Remember, they was throwing the baby out with the bath water because of what? Because the whole house took a bath in the dirty ass bath water, and they would put the baby in last after the mama, the daddy, the sister, the brother, the grandma, everybody done washed their nasty ass in the dirty ass water, and the baby would be the last one that they put in. And again, they weren't sanitary fucking people, so they would throw the water out the off the front porch or out the fucking window, and the baby was still, they would forget that the baby was in the dirty water because the water was so fucking filthy that you couldn't see the baby in the fucking water. So when we say throw the baby out with the bath water, this is, you don't even understand the truth behind that statement. I'm a truth teller. So if I'm lying, show me where I'm lying at. Go look it up yourself. These people are not who you think they are. Commerce and trade, right? It wasn't supposed to be a permanent, the same way it was not supposed to be any permanent servitude or any servitude at all of my ancestors on their own goddamn land. They weren't supposed to be permanently over here doing no fucking business. We too forgiving, like I said last week. And I just, I guess by default, watch a bunch of trials of underage, minors, right? And in the cases where some of these minors, because these minors were facing life sentences, right? Where they murdered some, which was, you told me to say, YT, some pale people, uh, relatives. They were talking about how they would never forgive them and all that. But again, every time I see us on TV, well, one of our sons or daughters or aunts or mothers or fathers or brothers have been murdered, we always talking about we forgive that individual for murdering. That's just the fucking problem. Everybody else stand up and fight for their shit, but y'all always laying down. Always. Especially with this Christmas shit. This shit irritating as hell. I done started telling people I'm a Jehovah Witness so they stop asking me about that shit. Talk to me about no damn Christmas. You fucking 50 years old, 40 years old, 60 years old, talking to me about fucking Christmas? Oh, I lost y'all, man. So we got Biden and the Satanic after school program out the way, right? Let me see what had happened. I ain't talk about Rudy Giuliani in almost 150 million. And speaking of Christmas, let me ask y'all this. Let me put myself back up here full time. Let me ask you this. What is the number one selling Christmas toy? If you think you know the answer, put it in the comments. What is the number one selling Christmas toy? What you say your answer is? Okay, over here we got gaming console. What, PS or what's the other one? The Xbox? Nope. The number one selling toy every Christmas for fucking decades now. Huh? iPhone. I said decades. How long iPhone been around? And the Christmas toy, that's not a Christmas toy, babe. I, Let me go on and answer before I get irritated and shit. The number one selling Christmas toy every year, all year, for decades now is fucking Barbie. The fucking Barbie doll. Okay? So when you hear me get on y'all about Christmas, you know what I'm saying? It's a reason why. Barbie is the number one selling Christmas toy every year, all year. And you wonder. I don't even want to talk about that shit no more. Where my paper at? Where my paper at? What else I write down earlier? I need some glasses on. I don't talk about that either. And something else that pissed me off. What was the sister name? I can't think of her name. The original sister who refused to get out uh her seat on the bus for a pale man, right? The one who was with child and was young. The one who they felt like she was too young for them to base um that bus boycott and joining with the civil rights. uh they didn't want her. They wanted Rosa Parks. Peace and rest in peace, you know what I'm saying, to the ancestor. In no way attempting to disrespect Rosa Parks, you know what I'm saying, who lived in Detroit for many, many decades, right? Lived in past over here in Detroit. My point is this: when the original sister refuses to get off the, but I think she was like 17. Don't quote me on it. It's been a minute, you know what I'm saying? But she was like young, and she was pregnant, right? Okay, so you gotta imagine you're on a bus and you refuse to get off the bus. It's 1961 or something like that. And it's not just a situation where they yank you off the bus, where the police come and they yank you off the bus, or the police come and make you get out of, give up your seat to the immigrant, right? The hybrid, excuse me. It's a situation where the police come and take you to jail. Where the police come and kidnap you and hold you for ransom, right? So during the proceedings after the charges were made against her, they sentenced her to lifetime probation. Did y'all hear me? They sentenced that sister to lifetime probation for not rendering her seat to the hybrid, to the pale man. Y'all say the white people, the white man. Lifetime probation. A minor, if I'm not mistaken. I can't look up everything and talk to y'all at the same time, but I'm just saying. Lifetime probation. And there's been a lot of talk over the past week now about the 11-year-old child, the little brother who urinated outside and was arrested. The judge has sentenced him to probation. And the judge was real condescending. Am I saying condescending? I know I'll be messing some words up. Nah, I don't be messing words up. This is the thing. 90% of the time when I mess words up, I'm doing it intentionally because it's English, right? But these AI these AI narrations that they have it's messing up some words. It's fucking irritating. The mispronunciation of these AI narrations is irritating. But again, I don't know how many months, I want to say, or how many years. I want to say it was like 6 months that they sentenced this baby to for urinating outside. The same people who actually used to throw the baby out with the damn bath water. Think about that. So you can get a full view of what you're dealing with. Wow. So I could put my paper down now. What is it? The end of the world or leave the world behind? That's the name of it. The Obama produced Netflix movie that everybody is doing lives about right now. Look, I just it's I when you say that, y'all say a reset. You're not the only one to say that, babe. I'm just saying. You know how I talk about the the what do you call it? The presidential addresses and the things that they talk about with the inflation and the deficit, and this shit happens every fucking 4 years. Somebody, they say the same. It's like they know that we are fucked up in the head, that we actually have amnesia because they talk about the same shit all the time. So what relevance does what I'm saying about your various CEOs who sit in the White House, and how it seems that we have amnesia because they keep talking about the same shit over and over, the same fucking problems over and over again that have never ever been solved. When Reagan was in the White House, how much did I say the deficit, their their national debt is? I'm just saying in general. Maybe somebody who watches remembers. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I do. My point is this. I Let me tell you what I remember. Right? I remember not post, but definitely before 9/11 happened. Right? I remember Bush in his speech and him talking about the deficit being at like 9 trillion, and if it exceeds 16 trillion, they'll have to go into bankruptcy and close everything. This is already a bankrupt entity, but my point is this. Then again, we're at 33 trillion now. When they were at 9 trillion, they said if they get to 16 trillion, it was going to be serious, right? Here we are in 2023 Gregorian calendar, and the shit is at 33 trillion, right? So what does this have to do with the movie? What is leaving behind, or leave the world behind, or get the fuck on? You know what I'm saying? My point is this. During my, uh, forget it. Let's go to when I was a child and grandma was teaching me about the Bible, really from a Hebrew Israelite perspective, right? It was the end of the world then. Everything was over with. As I advanced in my knowledge as a youth and I began to get into other, like for a minute, I actually did. You might as well say I was a Jehovah Witness, because as a child I used to go to the hall with my auntie. My mother's sister was a Jehovah Witness, right? So all the little Jehovah Witness cassette tapes and they little Bible and all of that, I had all that stuff growing up, right? Then you look at the exposure um by way of the Nation of Islam, and on and on. Like all of these people talk about the end of the world, the spaceships coming, and in 1999, every one of you fucking bastards was out here propagating that bullshit. And here it is, 2023, and it goes back to what the ancestors said, which is it is a world without end. You motherfuckers may cease to exist, but this plane of existence that y'all call Earth ain't going no fucking where. I'm sick of this shit. That movie don't mean shit to me. I hope it was it for as anything for adults. It should have been a form of entertainment, not another form of this is what's gonna happen. Do you know how many times you do y'all have amnesia? Like, have you? I guess after the middle and the end of the 90s, being a part of the Hebrew Israelite fucking culture. Do you know how many times I've heard that shit? So I don't want to hear it. I don't. I don't want to hear anything about this is the fucking end of the world. Like y'all been propagating and spewing that bullshit for fucking years and decades. Again, you gotta have some form of we suffer for from some forms of fucking amnesia. For real. I'm now what I will cop to is the fact that many of these films that they make definitely get played off, played into fucking real life. But if I plan to do something, I don't have to give you a warning because I'm gonna do it anyway, right? But when you're talking about in a ritualistic society where everything with them is a fucking ritual or a fucking sacrifice, like listen to me, listen, don't talk to me or sit and listen to me talk as if I'm fucking incompetent. I overstand all of this, right? I know these people be cooking on your ass. That's not my point. My point is this: when you give energy and credence to some shit, it's gonna be in your zone because you're thinking in that fucking way. So you're attracting the bullshit. I'm not attracting the bullshit because I don't know. You didn't ain't every ideology that you can name has already throughout my lifetime put fear in me, right? That shit is gone. None of you motherfuckers can predict when or what ending of humanity will be on this fucking earth. Because if your bitch ass could predict that, you can come give me these lotto numbers. You full of shit. Y'all are so full of shit and impressionable and immature and mentally unstable and amnesia. We forget shit. Like it's I don't know if it's in just in the food or the air or what the fuck it is, but again, we will listen to the various politicians say the same shit over and over, and then you get a new CEO or president in office and you forget all the other shit that the other person said and some of the things that they even implemented within their executive orders. You act like this shit is brand new. Ain't none of this shit is brand new. It's a fucking repeat. Y'all call it a reset. I call it a fucking repeat. It's a repeat of the same bullshit. This is not the first or the second or the 18th movie that they made like this. I'm not saying it's not a good film because I actually sat there and, watched it. But my point, you know what I'm saying, I'm making is when you see, it's just like the Get Out movie, right? It has some relevant shit that hit home within it. But at the end of the day, it's still a movie. At the end of the day, you still have your Kanye's and others who continuously go out and mate and marry outside of their goddamn gene pool. Regardless to the movie Get Out, regardless to what happened to OJ or MJ or any goddamn body, they still go out and do the same shit. So I'm not, I can listen at what y'all say, concerning this film. And to be honest, really, I can't because I don't want to hear that shit. Again, I've heard it's gonna be the end of the world 1,000 damn times already. Whether you're talking about grandma or pastor pimping or rum pork chop or militant imam, or you know what I'm talking about, or ratting rabbi, or whoever you're talking about. I heard this shit 1,000 times already. Remember 2012 when they were discussing the Mayan or the Olmec calendar and how they said it was going to be an end, and I kept saying it's going to be the end of a fucking cycle. It's not going to be the end of a damn world, right? And I also said if anything does happen, like a blackout or something like that, it will be something that will be caused by your elite class of demons. Now, I can't say that because just imagine if there was an outage that lasted longer than the one on in August of 2003, right? That was just for like 3 days, maybe a little bit longer for other people. But when you're talking about a massive power outage like that, that extends like more than 2 weeks or 30 days or something like that's gonna cause various people to take drastic measures. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I'm not, again, if we not propagating those thoughts within our psyche, but most people do. Most of y'all is real on that fear mongering shit, especially my brothers and sisters. And I love y'all. I love y'all. I love my people. You know what I'm saying? But I just got to be real. I've been through all that shit already. I mentioned this 1,000 times. Like, again, I had cases of water, cases of bullets, cases of pop, cases of everything flooding my house December of 1999. And here comes the physical new year that rolls over and nothing happened. My phone still, remember them old Sprint phones? Everything was still on. I was good. Pager still, you know what I'm saying? Everything, yeah, I still had a pager in January 2000. So what? I had a couple of them, but that's not my point. My point was I have been listening to not just Dwight York, Jack Van Impe, and all. I was listening to, you know what I'm saying? David Icke, Icky, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like Bill Cooper, you know, listening and reading and preparing and playing dead press, like, you know what it is? Crazy. Rastafari, whole nine. Like, and everybody was on that. So in 2023, if some satellites start making planes fall out the sky, and you know what I mean? Like, you already know what it is. Its intent, it was fixed. Which puts the general populace in a position to point fingers. What else I did? I had something. I forgot. The shit was at the top of the page. It's gone. You made me talk about. I feel as though talking about a TikTok billboard was unimportant because that was something that I was like, oh, TikTok got his own billboard. Like, I ain't even hip, y'all. I admit to my naivety. Uh, what is this? Uh, Damn. See, we got the sister Lois White in a Chase Bank fiasco where she deposited a check that was more than 5 grand into her account, which was, I think, a student loan check or something like that. And Chase flagged it as being fake, you know, based upon what? It wasn't an issue where, the check didn't clear or anything like that. So that's a discrimination case coming up. And again, we have amnesia. People act as if redlining didn't exist or as if they created a so-called law or act that abolishes that. I keep telling y'all they don't abolish shit that has to do with us. What they do is they revise and modify and amend, but they don't abolish a motherfucking thing. Even when we talk about slavery, I'll say it for the thousand millionth time, which is a number, goddamn it. But when you read where they were supposed to abolish slavery, it says that slavery is, it says, no, it says involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude is abolished. So that means that, again, when you a scholar, you see both sides and you can argue both sides. If you can't do that and you're not willing to do that, you're not a fucking scholar. Number one. Number two, if involuntary servitude is unlawful or illegal, excuse me, then that only means that voluntary servitude is perfectly legal. Again, if involuntary servitude is illegal in their books, what that means is that voluntary servitude is legal. You have to catch it. You have to literally sit down and read the Constitution and the various amendments, Bill of Rights, and all of this shit, the Articles of Confederation up under the Continental Congress. You need a fucking law dictionary to read this shit. This is why I can just come off the top of the head and just say this shit, because I've already did it. The same way I'm telling y'all, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe with these fear-based type of, not just this movie, but various social media channels and outlets and TikTokers and things like this and that. People are heavily influenced by things that they haven't even experienced. And for me, as a mature woman, that's not for me. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that I've already endured, then I'ma speak on it. That's the problem. Most of us is like, how they say that shit. They say those that know don't tell, and those that tell don't know. Some of these philosophies that we have attached ourselves to are so fucking damaging. Did you just hear what I just said? Those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know. It's people who actually live their lives by that fucking motto, right? So that, what that does is that puts a psychological way of thinking in place that causes us to have this gatekeeper fucking mentality, right? What's some of the other words y'all use? You know what I'm saying? The spook who sat by the door. None of y'all are. It's a difference in between the spook who sat by the door and these modern gatekeepers, is what y'all call them, right? The spook that sat by the door went through vigorous and he endured a whole bunch of shit in order to be placed in a high place, right? But only to sit in that space so he could personally bop the man. Y'all remember Homie Clown? When Homie Clown got his corporate self together and worked his way all the way up to the top, and was called all kind of sellouts and what's my word, Oreos, and because I don't use Tom and Coon, because you know what I'm saying. We talked about the coons and we showed you why we don't use the word coon out. If you missed it, then you need to go back and look at some of the old bills from a couple years ago, since you might be slipping and you just knew not to use the word Uncle Tom. But well, we shouldn't be calling each other coons either. But again, Homie Clown went through all that shit, right? And when he got to the top, what did he do? He bopped the man. He like, the only reason I did all of this to get up here, to get next to you, was so I could fuck you up. That's what it was. Right? That's what it was. We need more people with that type of mentality, right? In it for some good reasons. Um, so boom, I got all off a topic. No, I said what I said about them, um, basically putting this woman behind in her bills and things of that nature by way of again, Chase Bank not they, you know what I'm saying? What did they do to the check? It wasn't just that they, because it was deposited, but they flagged it again because they thought it was some fraud going on, and they was wrong. So of course she'll be suing their asses, right? And speaking of, I just mentioned them not abolishing things. When we talk about the red lining, right? We know that right now today, based off of this story and many others, especially when you seen the sister, um, the appraiser come out to the sister's house, you know what I'm saying, to do the appraisal on it. And with her, they said, the house is only worth 200,000, which was, red flags for her because of what she knows the home to be worth, right? So what she did was she called two of her white friends and went through the same process again, as well as she took, her pictures and stuff of herself down and so on and so forth, right? So when the appraiser comes out and sees, the white people in the house, he appraises the house for almost a half a million, right? So that's double of what they appraised it when they thought that it was a melanated woman who was the owner of the home versus her two white friends, Becky and Kep. You know what I'm saying? Like a half a million versus you just telling me my house was like 225,000 to 250,000. So none of this shit is surprising. No more surprising than, people's panic and things like this and that with stuff that, if you feel the need now to be prepared for, and with this, let me say this, I could be wrong, but based on prior experience and me watching people forget that, bro, we just went through this, or we went through this already, or his predecessor already said that. I be messing some words up, you know what I'm saying? 10% not on purpose, and the other 90% on purple. You know what I'm talking about? So, um, I could be wrong. They could be planning something, right? But at the same time, we empower them as if they have certain abilities that they don't possess. What do I mean by that? We'll swear up and down that, they're the cause for this and that and this, and this wouldn't have happened if these motherfuckers ain't, they do good business. They make business decisions based on their financial future. You know what I'm saying? To make sure whatever business decision that they make will benefit their descendants, not us, right? At the same time, it doesn't mean that everything that they do is nefarious and devious and demonic, and you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not giving no excuse for the so-called powers to be in any type of way, but again, I don't want to over I will never make them any bigger than what the fuck they already think they are, not what they are. Again, when you do that, it puts you in a frame of mind that We're nothing. If they so powerful that they can make some of the things that some people claim that these people have done, you know what I'm saying? In the minds of those same people who render that power to them, in their own minds, they like, well, I ain't shit. That's just what I get out of that. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't, I don't do that for real. Like, I'm not naive to the point that I don't recognize how they are the nucleus of most of the issues that are happening, not just on a national basis, but on an international basis, right? With that being said, these are all merely business moves that, and these transactions are business moves for them, no matter what it is. Even if it's the 56 millionth law policy act that they've written, it's all based on business. Again, my complaint is, okay, I'm not so powerful in my stance, and I'm not supported and represented to the point as to where I can stop you from doing your commerce and trade, right? But we have to be big enough and powerful enough and about that sovereignty enough to recognize that, yeah, y'all can do all the business y'all want to, but you don't have the authority to force me into doing business with you. What you have is the military might to force me into doing business with you. And that's what they've been doing since day one, since their arrival. And until we as uh, a whole recognize that, it's going to be more, these the problems that we need to be worried about, right? Like the young brother in Florida who was damn near beat to death based off of what y'all hear me talk about all the time, which is us coming together and making them abolish the seatbelt law, right? The reason that they were able to stop that young man was because of this seatbelt shit. They said that they couldn't see his seatbelt. He didn't have a seatbelt on. Now, what you have to realize that whether you have that seatbelt on or not is your word against theirs, right? So in order to stop that from even happening, we eliminate that, right? Because it's not just the fact that you can be assaulted, right? With that being, that's what they use as a probable cause in order to stop you and detain you. Again, I make the reference to the fact that before they created this seatbelt shit, this seatbelt policy, what they would do is pull you over and your ass asks why you pulled me over, and they would either bust out your headlight or bust out your tail light to say that that was the reason, that was the probable cause that they have for fucking stopping you and detaining you and sexually assaulting you by the way of frisk, bodily searches and things like this and that, right? So, you may say, well, that would be impossible for us to get them to abolish the seatbelt law, the safety belt law, and that don't make sense. I just explained to you why the fuck it makes sense. Number one. Number two, let's talk about the helmet law. There was a time where they would be able to stop you and cite you or sue you, or what you call be issued a ticket, a traffic ticket, for not wearing a helmet. Well, the same way I'm telling us that we have to get together and make sure that they abolish that shit. The rednecks and the hillbillies and, you know what I'm talking about? They got together and picked 10 states and decided that they were going to get them to abolish this helmet law because they are tired of being extorted. Do you realize the billions of dollars that they have made off of our people with the fucking seatbelt law shit? Think about it. You are allowed to cite me or sue me or issue me a fucking traffic citation about a fucking safety belt when you are not concerned about my safety one bit. If you was concerned about my safety and it's a traffic violation situation, why are you approaching me, two men, two pistols, shackles on your hip? Come on, y'all. You use your brain. Use your right and your right. Work your cerebellum. Do something. So again, they accomplished the goal of getting these particular states to eliminate the helmet law because they no longer wanted to be extorted for $125, $150 for not wearing a fucking helmet. So let's look at us as a people and how we have been affected from day one by way of the police fraternal order. Well, fraternal order of police, right? Before they was even being called that. And what the word I couldn't think of last week was vagrancy laws. When I talked about the signs, the trespassing, no trespassing, or you can get a $5,000 fine and or 10 years in prison. They still fucking do this. I don't know who case it was I was watching, but they were saying that they're facing 10 years. And that's all they say. But if you actually seen that person paperwork, it'll say it on there. Granted, depending on the type of charge it is, but it's gonna say 10 years in prison, and if convicted, 10 years in prison and or a $50,000 fine. Right? It always said it don't just never say 2 years or 3 years prison. It always says 10 or 15 or whatever, however many years, and or so many $1,000 fine. And or right. So they've already sucked the blood. They're parasites. They suck the blood out of what we can do. We may not immediately be able to make them do A, B, and C, but the power that we have to stop them from doing other things, we need to always support that, always be on board for doing your part for making that happen. And I'm telling y'all, like I've been telling people for years, this us getting together and getting them to abolish that seatbelt law is very important. It's important for many reasons, but for me, if we or when we accomplish something like that, brothers and sisters who don't have the insight that our conscious people have, they'll be able to have a better understanding of the city of and the state of and the federal and the legislative, judicial, and executive branches of government and so on and so forth. They'll understand that that is business. When we start, anytime a particular state or county uh, uh collectively agrees to put something on the books, right? That's unlawful within itself, right? But they agree to put some shit on the books. And the result of this particular law or act or policy being played out negatively affects this particular region or this particular so-called race of people at this large percent. Common sense tell you that that has to be eliminated, right? But if the people continue to let this particular so-called rule uh put them in a or keep them in a state of poverty, which is what these policies are created to do. You understand? Because if they can keep us just at the poverty line, just barely above it, and just underneath it, they know that the likelihood of us being able to restructure any of the various territories, north, east, south, and west, that we prior that we, you know what I'm saying, had control over. I don't want to use the word own because again, we are the caretakers of the land. There's no such thing as ownership of the land, right? A firm footing does equate to us regaining our sovereignty, but at the same time, we have to function properly and stop doing things within nature that are that go against nature. I call that unlawful. It goes against the grain of fucking nature to be running around talking about this land belongs to me. You understand? Now I may be attached to particular lands by way of lineage. You know what I'm saying? Which gives me again not ownership, but I have right to the land by way again of lineage, which already attached me to the land. So I can look at it as I am the land. When you violate the land, you are violating me. So, people speaking about being indigenous and aboriginal, you have to really be absorbed in the culture and customs of your ancestors, which would prevent us from having these constant fallouts with one another based on your sky daddy, right? I don't even want to is I can't even intellectually uh not debate but dialogue with someone with that type of fucking mentality. Like a lot of stuff that you say sound good, but when you get into that God and he'll do it and all of this shit. And my father said, if you're not talking about your father who you carrying the DNA of, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear shit about no invisible shit, because you don't know, you know what I'm saying? If it's invisible, if it's there or not, not, right? I'm not, um, I'm not, and this other thing, this new age shit. I hear people who, supposed to be scholars, but they talking about I don't know about this new age stuff people doing, and you sound crazy because a lot of what you all are referring to as new age, new age religion and new age, this is actually uh ancient sciences and belief systems and ideologies, if you will, that the majority of people who have already trapped themselves into Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, of course, it's gonna be some new age shit to you or something that anything that is not a part of again they monotheistic systems is one God but Allah, one God but Jehovah the jealous God, one God but Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? How you cannot try and convince me that you talk some type of scholar and that's as far as your knowledge go, right? You just can't. It's too much other ancient information and cosmologies that pre-exist the shit that you own. So again, uh I'm still tripping on this nigga Biden saying that he gonna veto this bill. That is crazy, but it's not so crazy when you think about it's been it's been centuries, right? This is going on for centuries. And what we're talking about? What's been going on for centuries? What's been going on for centuries is the all sorts of abuse of children, right? When we talk about indigenous rights and human rights, you have to go back to the rights of a child, right? The rights of a child, which breaks down to the rights of a child to a name and a nationality. That started everything. When people start talking about indigenous rights, again, when people start talking about the human rights, and I'm talking about the declarations passing through the United Nations, right? It really started with the children, right? So why I'm saying this? I'm saying this to say that they have a long record of abuse of children, right? And not just S abuse, right? I'm talking about trafficking on another level, trafficking these children for their labor, which for sure we know it's still going on, right? But we act like, well, that's some shit that happened in other countries. When that shit has happened right here on this soil. I showed you the baby working at the McDonald's. They are going into various factories and finding underage children, some of them with fake IDs provided by some of these companies and some of these associations that place them with employment at some of these places, where you have to be again a particular age, and these children are minors and they're not of age to be in there working. Name a state. I'm sure there's a case that is verbatim to what I just mentioned. And I know for sure that I shared one of the factories where this was taking place, right? And a lot of us tend to think, that it's migrant children, but this is happening with some of our babies as well. Peace, Mustafa. Said, put your motorcycle seatbelt on. Hold on, let me share some of these comments before I get out of here. That's what I didn't do. So we got all that on top of a 83-year-old. Her name is Elise Brown. Elise Brown, 83 years old, pulled out her car, snatched out her car, and told to get on her knees. Right? Nah, I told y'all, when they go to the police academy and they get this training, they are trained to, if they suspect an individual to be Islamic, a Muslim, not to tell them to get on their knees, because they only bow to Allah, right? So when you talk about religious freedoms and things like this and that, and I don't know why I'm mentioning this, because people them basically drag this through the mud, the ecclesiastical clauses, which by all right, so, because that's how many of these priests are getting away with being pedophiles, right? They're using that ecclesiastical clause. And I started peeping this back in, I want to say 2008. And again, that ecclesiastical clause is the same thing that many of our heroes and sheroes, from a a faith perspective, don't stand a chance when they attempt to use that ecclesiastical clause, right? So I definitely, peace be upon them, always had the extended conversation with Bobby Ill about that. And he lectured and went into depth about it. Because, of course, that's my sensei. He's going to have way more information than me, right? He said, old Jim Crow masonry. Night, night, nut. So, thinking of Jim Crow, you know, for me, you go back to the Christian Black Codes of 1724. You know what I'm saying? You deal with Jim Crow, the vagrancy laws, and what they do is they don't abolish shit. They just modify, right? So with each one of those, the Jim Crow, that shit was reintroduced as city ordinance. And I said, look up the word city. Ordinance, you can already hear ordained within it by who? They say church and state is separate, ain't it? But every president you had has stood in that Oval Office swearing a oath and always mentioning being Christian. Every last one of them, even the one with the Islamic name. So if church and state is separate, why would they even discuss their religious, you know, beliefs or origins or, you know what I'm saying? Again, these people who right now here today who you may refer to as white people or Europeans or Eurasians or hybrids or their title or namesake prior to like 1850 something, they were not called white people. They were known as Christians. They wasn't even running around talking about I'm French, I'm German, I'm Spanish. Not really. What do all those people have in common? Christmas, y'all trying to celebrate Christmas. I ain't trying to do none of that. So what we got? Yeah, I talked about everything. I should have, although I haven't looked at the footage myself of them pulling the elder, the 83-year-old sister, out the car. That's another lawsuit. You got the brother who was tased while he was handcuffed. You got the young brother who was beat so bad his eyes he can't even. There is no opening of his eyes, right? And that's the brother who they used the seatbelt as an excuse to assault him, kidnap him, and hold him for ransom. And they claim to, uh, I think they claim to have found some drugs or something on him, but in order to get him what his lawyer said verbatim, in order to try and stop a civil suit against the police department, what they were doing was offering to drop the charges, right? But what happened was, due to their brute force and violations, civil violations and uh uh how you say that shit? That colorable shit, deprivation of rights under the color of law, right? They cannot utilize anything that they found on him, the gun or whatever else they found on him. That those cases have to be thrown out, regardless to whether or not the young man goes forth with a civil suit against this police department. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to see, was it Alabama? Nope, that's when the guy got tased. What is this? Jacksonville. Yeah, that's what happened at Jacksonville. Jacksonville. I already told y'all they need to change the name of Jacksonville. That's the most disrespectful shit ever. Ever. To have a town in the land of our ancestors be named after the murderous, what I say that nigga nickname was. His nickname is Old Hickory, and I'm talking about Andrew Jackson. Old Hickory, the king of New Orleans, for him killing all those indigenous brothers and sisters there as well. And King Mob or something like that. Like he got some weird nicknames. But again, when you look at historically the genocide that he perpetrated on on our people, then you understand why they would call him a King Mob and Old Hickory. When we think of Hickory, we think of the wood chips, right? The wood chips that you burn that make a particular flavor on a food. So to call him Old Hickory, y'all got to be able to put that shit together. They talk about the hangings, but very rarely do I hear people talk about the fact that they was eating us. And when I say they, I don't just mean a few sprinkles of uh colonists. They always try to say uh the Confederate States in the South and the Southerners, and no, it's all y'all bitches, right? I'm not just talking about these savage men. I'm talking about they wives, they mama, they children. They was all barbecuing us. That picnic shit, that pick a nigga, picnic. That word that we still be out here using, picnic. That's what it was. They weren't just hanging you. They weren't just skinning you, huh? They weren't just cooking you. They was eating us. Why you think they like to make so many vampire movies? Man, hold up. What happened to man? My bad, y'all. I know. Lost my thing. Hold on. Alright, my bad. That is just crazy. Indefinite probation. So that's what they was calling it. Not lifetime probation, but indefinite. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is that not the same? Indefinite probation, ain't that the same as lifetime probation? And Teresa Haley of the NAACP in Illinois, she went off about the migrants being savages. And I know, over here it's been, they caught I think it's like four men who were breaking into homes and very prominent areas and stealing they safes and all kind of shit. But it turns out three of them was like from Venezuela and things like this and that. They were part of the people who have so-called illegally crossed the borders, who you all are giving housing to and things like this and that. But you're saying that the crossing is illegal. You got one or two or 10 politicians talking about finishing building a wall. You're trying to build a wall to keep people out, and these people build tunnels. So what the hell is a wall gonna do to a person who is building a tunnel? Nothing. Nothing. So I'm gonna show what they did to the brother, and I'm going to scab out this piece. Let me see. I don't want to have to try to go through all of these. Wait a minute. I think this is it. Yeah, Jacksonville sheriff's officers brutally attack unarmed Florida man, sparks outrage. Look at his face. Man, unbelievable. Yep, seatbelt. Seatbelt. Again, we hear the hypocrites promoting the click of the ticket bullshit. You know, they don't connect that again with the Christian Black Codes of 1724 when it's the same shit, with the vagrancy laws when it's the same shit, with the Jim Crow when it's the same shit, or with the city ordinance, which is the same shit. So we need not hesitate another moment with this. We got to pick 10 states and make it happen. Yep, and all of those who have an interest, you know what I'm saying? Definitely contact me. Especially if you are in or if you're dealing with a different territory or a different, state of other than Michigan. What a thing at. Dang it. Yeah. And with that, I say peace.
Supreme.
Shock.
Etymology. Say I'm dope, I said I'm smoke, fire, blowing air, carbon, earth, solid, water, wet. I'm steady beat, a sister soldier that dies effects. So gone with all that hoopla and rah-rah. Unless you talking about Atun, Namuna, Amara, pineal glands, all seeing eyes. We call the third eye. We came to build, not pay your bill. Sling them in the municipality, city seals like roadkill, descendants of ancient mound builders. Not supposed to need encyclopedias, genetically encoded with 720. We got amnesia, claiming we Christian cretins in love with Yahweh, Muhammad, and Jesus. But you was living inside of God when you was a fetus. But believers and never believers